we'll differentiate the function f of x equals 1 over x cubed minus 3x squared plus 1. Notice that this is not a sum function, this is not a difference, it's not a product, it's not a quotient. You can think of it as a quotient, but let's try to do it using chain rule. Think of this as a function of a function. So this is how you can think of it as a composition of two functions. So f of x equals x cubed minus 3x squared plus 1. G of x is the reciprocal function which flips anything that g is applied to. So g composition f of x is g of f of x. So that's g of f of x is x cubed minus 3x squared plus 1. And what does g do to anything? It flips that function. So it's 1 over x cubed minus 3x squared plus 1. Now, if we had to differentiate x cubed minus 3x squared plus 1, that would be 3x squared minus 3 times 2 is 6x plus 0. And d by dx of 1 over x is negative 1 over x squared. Remember, that's x to the negative 1, and that's negative 1x to the negative 2, which is negative 1 over x squared. It's better to remember this. So now we're going to differentiate this function using chain rule. So f prime of x is equal to, now we're going to pretend like this is a 1 over x. Now if we had to differentiate 1 over x, we'd get negative 1 over x squared. So we're going to write it as negative 1 over whatever it is that we're just pretending it's like an x, but and that is a square. But remember, at the end it is not an x, it's an x cubed minus 3x squared plus 1. Now whatever you write inside here, you have to multiply by the derivative of that function. So we have f prime of x is equal to negative 1 over x cubed minus 3x squared plus 1 times, and I'm going to write the function here, 3x squared, sorry, that's a minus, six x, and that's equal to negative 3x squared plus 6x divided by x cubed minus 3x squared plus 1. Now you can think of this as a quotient, f over g, but it's much easier to use the chain rule to differentiate this function. Now suppose you had f of x equals 1 over 2x minus 1. Again, you could think of it as a quotient. We know for sure it's not a sum or difference or not a product, but we can use the chain rule by thinking of it as a composition of two functions. So f of x equals 2x minus 1. G of x flips that function, so it's the reciprocal function. So g composition f of x is g of f of x, which is equal to g of 2x minus 1. And when you flip it, we get 1 over 2x minus 1. So f prime of x, we just pretend like it is a 1 over x, but remember it's not. So if it is a 1 over x, then we write it as negative 1 over x squared. But since this is not an x, we go times d by dx of 2x minus 1. And that's equal to negative 1 over 2x minus 1 the whole squared times d by dx of 2x is 2, d by dx of 1 is 0. So that's negative 2 over 2x minus 1 the whole squared.